Hello, this is Snyder, and today I thought I would show you my initial processing of my files after I get them taken out off the camera card. I put them into the Adobe Bridge, and then I open them up in Adobe Camera RAW software through Photoshop. When I began photographing and learned photography, it was in the late 70s, early 80s. In high school, we shot black and white film. Once you used the film up in the camera, took all the exposures, then you took it into the darkroom, put it in a canister, added chemicals, and processed the negative so that you could see the pictures. That way we could print them out on an enlarger in the darkroom a little bit later. So I can relate a little bit to shooting the digital file with our digital camera, and I shoot in the RAW file. I use the Adobe DNG, but it's still a RAW file. It's just by Adobe. And then, like I said, then I bring it into the bridge, and we will open up this picture that I have highlighted right here. It's Adams Falls in Ricketts Glen State Park. What I do when I process these, I don't do a ton of processing, as in using all these different features and stuff up here. I usually check, make sure the white balance is correct. I don't take out spots too often, and I don't remove debris and stuff. I do that in Photoshop. So I start with my clarity. Typically, I usually go to a 50%. Sometimes a little lower, but typically about 50. Hit clarity, add about 20 to 30 depending on the picture, sometimes 15. I will go up to the contrast, hit 30. I think for this one we need to go a little more, so we'll add 50. I can see that the exposure is a little dark, so we'll bump up the exposure. And then we'll come down to shadows, and we'll run the shadows up to bring some more detail out in the shadows. 75 looks good. At this point, I want to hit the highlights warning. I'm watching my histogram up here to make sure that I don't blow out my whites too bad. By turning on the highlight warning, I can run up my whites. And I'll go too far. You can see the red starting to show. That's because of my highlights warning. We don't want that. Those areas will be blown out, so there'll be no detail. So let's back it down till those disappear. Shut the highlights warning off. And that looks pretty good at this point. The blacks, I'm going to leave them where they're at. There's a little bit of areas of black, but not a lot. As you can see, I got the black warning on. There's just a little bit of blue here and here. So our blacks where there's no detail basically, and I'm not concerned about that. So as you can see, that made a drastic change from the original RAW file to a processed one. At this point, I will save the image. I don't open it up and go ahead and work on it in Photoshop. Instead, I save it as a PSD. I will go and change my folder since it's a different folder. We go to Ricketts Glen where we shot this. I got a master file. I put all these in. Select the folder. I use the same file name. We make it a PSD Photoshop file. We make sure it's a 16-bit file, and then we hit save, and it'll save the file, and we can open it up in Photoshop later to remove debris and stuff like that, spots that might have gotten on there from dust and things. And since I've already got this processed and I've already printed it out to sell and put it up on the web before, I'm going to hit cancel. Anyways, like I said, I just wanted to show you what I do when I do my initial processing, and So hopefully you enjoyed the video and you learned something. And I will try to do one and take this picture on into Photoshop and show you how I finish it off in there at a later date.